All right. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Welcome to Carnegie Hall. I'm Anthony Crowell, the Dean and President of New York Law School, and I want to welcome all of you, members of our Board of Trustees, faculty, alumni, our honored guests, family members and friends, and of course, the members of our graduating class. It gives me great pleasure to call to order today's commencement exercises. May I please ask all of you to stand for our national anthem, sung by Molly Mauck of the class of 2016.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we've watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well, thank you, Molly. Now that's how it's done. Just beautiful. Before us this afternoon, we have Juris Doctor candidates, Masters of Law candidates, and Masters of Disability Law Studies candidates. And as I said, today is a family celebration. Yes, it's for you graduates, but also for your parents, your grandparents, spouses, partners, children, other family members, and friends. Everyone who stood by you on this journey is part of our NYLS family. Graduates, please stand and join me as we give your loved ones a well-deserved round of applause. All right. This is an auspicious moment. 125 years ago, both New York Law School and Carnegie Hall opened their doors and began to shape and create New York City's history. Carnegie Hall has been the site for many historic events, and in fact, this was the site of our very first commencement. And our celebration of 125-year milestones goes even further today. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit is also celebrating its 125th anniversary, and we are honored to have its Chief Judge, Robert Katzman, as our commencement speaker and honorary degree recipient. The great people who have come through all three of these important institutions have helped build modern New York, and this is a legacy that we cherish and continue to build. And speaking of our distinguished guests, I'd like to offer a special welcome to this year's President's Medal recipient, from the class of 1993, NYLS trustee and Infor CEO, Charles Phillips. I'd also like to welcome several of our alumni who graduated from the law school 50 or more years ago. Please welcome, from the class of 1951, Dominic Birascano, Grace Reeks, who was the only woman to graduate that year, and Jan Elvin, the widow of another member of the class of 1951, Alvin J. Bronstein. His legacy will be honored annually starting with today's commencement, and a new award for graduates who have demonstrated leadership in the areas of civil rights and social justice is being established. In addition, from the class of 1957, we have Saul Rudis, from the class of 1958, our trustee, Judge Ernst Rosenberger. From the class of 1959, we have Arthur Abbey, our distinguished chair of the Board of Trustees. And from the class of 1966, we have Jeffrey Halbreich. Let's give them all a round of applause again. Since I have been dean, this is the fourth graduating class I've addressed, and the third time I have spoken here at Carnegie Hall. And each time I am awestruck by the honor I've been given. It was only a few short years ago that I was the youngest dean in the country. And although you all have respected the authority and responsibility that goes with my position, at times I have nonetheless felt much more like a wiser, more weathered older brother than someone tasked with dispensing advice to a younger generation. But a lot has happened in these 4 years. And while I still enjoy the older brother role, I've grown more fully to appreciate my generational obligation. And that's why it's an absolute honor and privilege to be able to offer some observations, words of wisdom, and advice while we're all here together at the same place one last time. Many of you are part of what is commonly called the millennial generation. And yes, I know there are quite a few of you who may fall outside this age bracket, especially in our evening division, but what I'm about to say applies to all of you. You may have heard people my age or older grumble about millennials, trying to figure out your generation's collective soul. I suppose it's not uncommon for prior generations to critique the ones who follow them. In fact, I remember vividly that this happened with my generation, dubbed Generation X, when we were seen as less ambitious, having shorter attention spans, and being entitled, especially when it came to what we expected from our careers. All of these qualities were mentioned in a Time magazine cover story in 1990, just 3 years before I started law school. Fast forward, and funny enough, Time magazine had another cover story more recently about your generation, with some of the same observations. The title was Millennials, the me generation. And it was published 3 years ago in 2013, around the time most of you began law school. While you can infer the tone of that piece from its title, my experience working so closely with you as your dean, your professor, and your chief promoter makes me believe that you and your generation, actually more than any other, have the greatest opportunity to improve the world. And while I don't want to get hung up on one magazine article, it offered some compelling facts. At 80 million strong, millennials are the biggest age grouping in American history. And because of globalization, social media, and the speed of change, millennials worldwide are more similar to each other than members of any other generation in history. I find this truly remarkable, and it is quickly creating profound change in our lifetimes. And I note, when this Gen Xer started law school in 1993, I did not have an email account, nor had I ever explored the internet, which at the time was called the information superhighway. As some of you may know, Carnegie Hall was named after Andrew Carnegie, one of the most successful titans of industry and a generous philanthropist in the era known as the Gilded Age, an era of innovation and growth. And in some ways, the era we live in now has some parallels to that time. Consider that there are people of your generation who, through their innovations, have already changed the way the world connects, such as Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, Brian Chesky of Airbnb, Katia Beecham of Birchbox, and many others who have created their own innovative businesses. And it's fascinating and inspiring to see many of these young titans of today's industry turning to philanthropy to leverage their ideas, success, and wealth to determine large-scale strategies to drive improvements in the lives of millions around the world by alleviating poverty, developing new medical cures for intractable diseases, and improving the quality of education among so many other causes. So here you sit, about to become lawyers in this exciting new world, and leaving this historic hall with a clear opportunity to change people's lives and the course of history, all for the better. However, making effective use of your legal education and your degree, it's not simply a given. Rather, you will need to work at it. The skills you have acquired and the understanding of your responsibilities as members of the legal profession have to be put to work right now if you want to make the most of the degree you received today. Today you leave with the tools, but the job is not done. It's actually just beginning. Throughout your time at NYLS, I, along with all of your professors, have stressed that the legal profession is one that will constantly test and challenge your resolve. That when it comes to your clients and employers, you need to be indispensable, and that you must be strategic and tactical to succeed in every task you undertake. The first major test you will face after leaving this building is an actual test. You knew it was coming, right? It's the bar exam. I know some of you have already taken it, and I hope you will agree with me. And I know that most of you will take it in July. But you can view the bar exam as an obstacle. But you shouldn't. Because I'm telling you now, if you want to pass this test and move on to successfully face future challenges, you will need to operate from a place of strength and focus, and not from a place of vulnerability or fear. That's why you must think of this test as an opportunity. And you need to approach the bar exam in the same manner you would approach anything else that has major life consequences. It has to be undertaken systematically, starting with a plan, which must be followed with laser-like focus, precision, intensity, consistency, leaving no stone unturned and shutting out unnecessary distractions. This approach will continue to serve you well after you pass the bar exam. And it's how you must prepare for litigation, close deals, and in fact, do any sort of task that a lawyer is called on to perform. And I want to revisit that 2013 Time article briefly by highlighting a word used pejoratively to describe millennials. The word is entitled. While the word carries a heavy negative association, it really doesn't have to. How many of you have heard of Evan Spiegel? He's the 25-year-old founder and CEO of Snapchat, a company valued currently at $16 billion that offers an app where users send each other short video messages that disappear after viewing. In fact, as you graduates know, NYLS unveiled its Snapchat account just today at this commencement ceremony. So last year, while addressing a group of business school graduates, Spiegel decided to turn the word entitled on its head. As a millennial himself, he said, "We do have a sense of entitlement, a sense of ownership, because after all, this is the world we were born into, and we are responsible for it." You all have worked incredibly hard to reach this point. and you all have overcome adversity at some point in your lives to be here today. I want you to feel entitled, regardless of what age or generation you are, since after all, this is your world now. And by graduating today, you all have the tools to be change makers, leaders, and advocates to make it a better place. But it'll be up to you to ensure that that happens, because feeling entitled to something without working as hard as possible to keep it will simply be a losing proposition. The era we're in, your era, is so exciting because of technology and innovation like Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook, all that have enabled new ways for people to advocate and speak out, to see the life challenges of others, whether half a world away or across the bridge in another borough. And it enables people to organize together to fight back against the many injustices of which they now cannot claim ignorance. And while all of this is positive, ironically, at the same time, technology has made it incredibly easy for people to self-select and listen to only those who are of a like mind, while blocking out those with differing points of view. As lawyers, you have a special responsibility to use all tools necessary to fight for justice and to guard against ignorance. In your new profession, you will face those who represent interests different from yours. But rather than making them feel that you are uncomfortable, you must use this as a wonderful opportunity. Seeing and hearing a multitude of positions and points of view makes for great learning experiences and will make you much better professionals and contributors to society. So we are counting on you to be leaders and not followers, to always question assumptions, to hold yourselves accountable and not make excuses, and to never accept the status quo you may be pushed to work within. Our law school's 125-year history has been predicated on that very belief, from our founder, Theodore Dwight, to the recipient of today's President's Medal, Charles Phillips. The status quo has never defined either of them, and success was always returned to both of them. Now, it's your turn to make history in our next 125 years. On a deeply personal note, I want you to know that I have been very privileged to work with you. We've been through a lot together. We've laughed, we've debated, problem solved, even conspired at times. I've learned so much from you, and I thank you for making me a better dean, a better teacher, and a better person. I know I speak for the Board of Trustees, the administration, and all of your professors when I say that we are extremely proud of you and very excited to see all the good you will do and all that you will go on to achieve. You have the potential to succeed in ways we cannot yet even imagine. So go. Go out into the world that now belongs to you and show everyone why you deserve it. You are now graduates of New York Law School. I would now like to call to the podium Jason Singer, our student body president, who will give a few reflections on our community. Jason exemplifies what it means to be a student of New York's law school. He is a native New Yorker, an evening division student, and someone who has worked tirelessly to inspire our student leaders to improve the quality of the law school experience, and in particular, that for our evening division students. Jason was a constant presence at NYLS, and at times when he wasn't studying, it seemed that he spent all of his spare time at the law school pursuing these efforts. Jason brings creativity and a great deal of heart to everything he aims to achieve. I know from talking with his dad and uncle who are here today that they are exceptionally proud of him. And I also know that the NYLS community is a second family to Jason, and we too are proud to call him one of our own. Jason.
We're here. It's New York Law School's 125th anniversary. And as student body president, I am honored to offer some brief remarks on our very special community here. All of us here today are part of that community, family, friends, and loved ones as well. Celebrating an incredible history and looking forward to an incredible future. My 4 years here have convinced me that New York Law School is truly a community. We call New York Law School New York's Law School. They say it takes a village, and that is exactly what we are, a village within this great city, a place where you feel the warmth and the sense of community the second you enter its doors at 185 West Broadway. We are a community that has provided life-changing opportunities since its inception for the many who have walked through our doors, regardless of their backgrounds. And like those before us, we, the New York Law School graduating class of 2016, have grown intellectually. We have learned the skills we need to bring about change. And we have developed an understanding of what can be accomplished when we all pursue justice. We must continue to enhance our community. We must continue to develop leaders and innovators inspired by a sense of duty to advance justice and support the public good. We must continue to forge important relationships and other paths to leadership. And we must continue to shape New York City and the world beyond. As Dean Crowell once told me, owning your history is a great way to chart your future. We must own that history and lead our community into the next 125 years. We must reject the status quo, as Dean Crowell said earlier, and instead lead a purpose-filled life of progress and change in all that we do. The law school's history is filled with greatness, but now it is our turn. It is our turn to lead this community. We, the New York Law School graduating class of 2016, will be remembered for the next 125 years as the ones who overcame obstacles and challenges to the world's most toughest and complex problems. We will be the ones who will explore new ventures and question all assumptions. And we will imagine a new future and toil tirelessly to make that future become a reality. As a first-generation college and law school graduate, although I am excited about graduation, it's been a long 4 years, it's still a very bittersweet moment. However, the one thing I am comforted by is the fact that we will always be part of this community. I can only hope that our employers and professional communities will invest as much time, provide as much support, and have as much faith in our potential, our visions, our dreams, and all that we achieve, the way that New York Law School has done. Congratulations, class of 2016. We deserve it.